Alright, so why not start off the year right with a soapbox? Don't worry, Alex, you don't have to do a soapbox. We have plenty of game companies to destroy it over the course of the year. We won't do that today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You can just...
And Kickstarter. We have to destroy Kickstarter next.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of things that we need to go after. There's plenty of stuff to talk about on those fronts and thoughts that we have on those. But today, I'm actually eating a little bit of humble pie. Today on the Soapbox, I'm going to talk about being wrong about a game from my first impressions.
How dare you?
How dare I? Yeah, I've admitted that maybe I was wrong initially on the internet. The lynch mob will come for me now. Oh God, what have I done? But recently, like I was talking about in the first segment, I've been trying to go back to some games that I want to just see if my initial impressions of them were right, wrong, whatever. A little bit ago, a couple of years back, I had started doing like re-reviews where I actually did go back and look at games a second time and give like a numbered score to it, and I'm not going to do that here. But the general idea of being able to go back to a game and look at it again, I like that, because sometimes your first impression is wrong. Now, I can tell you that recently I did try to play Anthem again, and it's not that case. That's pretty much still what I remember it being, and has the same general problems as before. But there was another game, and I wanted to talk about that now. So, for people that are not aware, Epic during December was basically doing like 15 days of free games. And so every day there was going to be a free game. Alex, I'm thinking that you probably tried to pick up as many as you could.
I picked up a few.
Yeah.
A few.
Okay.
Not all of them. Some of them were games I was not interested in at all.
Sure. Yeah. For me, I pretty much just I picked them up regardless, just because you never know. I might not be feeling it right now, but one day maybe I'll have an interest in it. There were a couple of them that I had actually played before, and I was like, meh. And then some that I will never... I do not have any interest in playing as of now, but I might change my opinion on in the future, so...
Maybe.
So, yeah, there was like Among the Sleep, and I was like, I have no interest in playing it, but I will pick it up, just in case.
Nah, I didn't pick it up.
I was like, I'll pick it up just in case. One of them actually was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the one-shot, which we got to play on air, so I would have wanted to get that anyway, so that was a good one. And there's some other ones that I had played before. But anyway, so one of them that came around was Remnant from the Ashes. Now, I don't know if you happened to pick that up when it came out.
Nope.
No, you didn't. Okay. Alright. But anyway, Remnant from the Ashes, since you're not familiar with it, is a game that came out a couple years back, and it was from Gunfire Games. They are the company that made the Darksiders series. And again, you probably are not very familiar with the Darksiders series. I can't hear you.
Oops. I have a Darksiders Genesis, but other than that, I'm familiar with it, but didn't really play them.
Yeah, Genesis is the worst one. So, sorry to tell you. No, they were very good, and I kind of always say the different Darksiders are basically trying to go with a thematic thing of another game. Like the first Darksiders is kind of like Legend of Zelda, Darksiders 2 is sort of like Diablo, and Darksiders 3 is sort of like Dark Souls. Yeah, but they did this other property, this new IP that kind of dropped out of nowhere and was supposed to be, what did they call it? It was they were saying like Dark Souls with guns. That was the elevator pitch.
Gun Souls.
Gun Souls, exactly. Dark guns. That was the idea behind Remnant from the Ashes. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm familiar with the company, and I'm not really big on Souls-like games. I've started to warm up a little bit more to them now because I've seen different versions of it. But at the time, I was very much in the I don't like these Souls games thing camp. So, but I picked it up because I was familiar with the company, and I was like, well, maybe the guns will help out the situation. Got in there. There's a few different kinds of classes that you can play for like long range, mid range, and close combat. I picked mid range. I think that's the cultist one. And I jumped on in and immediately started wondering exactly what the point of these guns was, because I was just getting bombarded with like a horde of melee combatants in a lot of tight spaces and around some difficult corners, and even some long-range combatants were like hitting me from across the field even though I couldn't reach them. So this was not really working for me. And one of the first places that they take you to is into like a sewer system, so now you're in real close quarters, things around every corner, and that led me to the point where I was like, screw this game, I never want to play it again. The first boss, literally just the first boss that came in, I believe that its name was Gore Fist, and it's just this giant juggernaut. They put you in this very enclosed arena, so again, the fact that you have the guns doesn't seem to work very well. And the thing that really annoyed me was that they had all of these little poison explodey guys that would run up to you, explode, and poison you so you take damage over time. And while they're doing that, this giant juggernaut thing just keeps trying to slam into you. And I kept trying a bunch of different things, probably tried 10 different times trying to do this boss. And I got close, like, I was like, ooh, his health bar's really low, and another little explodey poison dude comes, and explodes into the side of me, and I was like, fuck this game forever, and I summarily chucked it in the metaphorical bin past that. It's like, yep, Souls-like suck. That was my general point of view. In the ensuing years, as you might know from some of my other soapboxes, I have realized that I don't necessarily hate Souls-likes, and there are some that I very much enjoyed.
Right.
Thought it had some merit. Code Vein, I thought had some stuff going on. Surge 2, Fallen Order, some good ones that I could actually find enjoyment in. I'm going to talk about one a little later that I did not. But when that came up on the Epic Game Store, I thought to myself, well, I'm gonna, pick it up. It's free. I'll put it in my library. Might as well. But out of all the ones that I played, for like the Souls-like games, that was kind of the one that I thought I might have judged a little too early, because I got to that first boss and I bailed, So I played it for a few hours and then I bailed on it. Ranked very low that year on my best to worst list, but I thought I'll give it another try, and I'll try something a little different this time. Now I'm familiar with the game. I'm familiar that I'm going to get bombarded by these little freaking jerks that just like...
I assume you took close combat.
Exactly. I took the Scrapper model this time. And Scrapper is really interesting. It has more like heavy armor, and it focuses on having this giant hammer, a big old hammer, and you get a shotgun, and you get a little auto pistol out of the game. So I'm like, okay, well, this is going to help out a lot with those close combat scenarios. And summarily went back into the game and started playing it again. And when I initially got in there, I was like, okay, I know how this works a little bit better, and I'm also a little familiar with the enemies, but the game felt a little different than it did before. And as I was going through, I got to the sewers, and all of a sudden now I have my little shotgun handy, and I have my big smack'em stick, and I was realizing, okay, well, these guys that are bombarding me, they're not such a pain now. I can kind of deal with it. And also, for the record, something I had actually kind of forgotten. Usually in the Souls games, you figure if you die, there's going to be something that you leave behind, and you have to go back and pick it up. They actually don't do that in this game. If you die at any point, they'll reset you to the last checkpoint, and all the monsters will respawn. But you keep all of your money, you keep your experience, you keep all of your... You keep everything, basically.
Oh.
So it's actually kind of nice because you don't play as close to the vest as you do in a lot of Souls games. You figure, I'll just plow on, and if I die, alright, I'll go back to the previous checkmark.
So it's Souls Light.
It's Souls Light, yeah, because that is definitely one of those elements that you figure is going to be in every Souls game. They do have essentially their version of Estus flasks and all of that stuff, and checkpoints, and all of those things. So, a lot of similarities, but the penalty for dying is very, very low. So, it kind of helps with the pacing issue, because I always felt like that was a pacing issue in general. Then I die, then I have to go back to the spot where I died, and maybe I want to go a completely different direction. Well, you can in this.
Right.
So I get to the point where I'm going to have to go up against that Gorefist jerk again. And I get in there, into that combat arena. It's not Gorefist. It is a different boss. And this one, I don't really remember its name, but basically this is a little warpy dude. And little warpy dude is going around these catwalks and just trying to hit me with some, long-range attacks and sending some minions out towards me. And I was like, okay, this is a different one. And I could kind of see how I could defeat the boss, so it took a few tries. But I did. I got it, and finished that, and moved on to the next section. Now, what I didn't know the first time I had played this game is that there are actually alternate bosses when you get to certain areas. You might end up, depending on which route you take and the scenario, you might end up fighting boss A or boss B with different kinds of modifiers for each one of them. So, different scenarios entirely. So, I had gotten the Gorefist on the first one, and I got little stalker sniper dude in the second one, which was more doable. So that was something I didn't know about. Apparently there's a way you can even re-roll the campaign from the start if you wanted to see if you get other options or different layouts for the maps and stuff. So I was like, okay, this is why it feels a little bit different this time. So kept playing, got to other bosses, and I think it was the second set of bosses after like the Root Mother or something, and now I'm in this arena where there's a bunch of these little guys that are coming at me, and every time you hit them enough, they split apart, and now there's two of them. And I am annoyed by these. Yeah.
Yeah, gelatinous cubes.
Yeah, basically these are gelatinous cubes, but they're root monsters. And I try that a bunch of times, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with all of this. I can't shoot them fast enough, and I felt that coming back. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to go back to base, because there's another thing that they have in there, which is an adventure mode. And you can keep your character and everything, and you keep your campaign progress. But if you want to play individual worlds at whatever, difficulty level you want, and go and, do different quests or try to re-roll quests or anything, you can do adventure mode and have like a side thing that you're doing.
Okay. And
I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll try playing that for a little bit. And I went to a completely different area I had not even gotten to in the story mode. And started getting equipment and stuff that I would have not gotten yet in the story mode. And kept playing that. And then, once I played that for a little while, went back to the campaign, and I was actually in a better position. I could actually destroy the next boss and so on. And so, got quite a bit through, like, even one of the main bosses, which are always the same. Big Fire Dog, in this particular case. Big Fire Dog. That's all you need to know. Singe, I think his name is. And, moved on to the next area. And what I started to realize is, boy, I've been playing this for quite a bit. And as you start to realize that there's, like, special weapons that you can uncover, if you do some of the side quests, or you know where they are, I was like, oh, cool, now I have this little, like, little minigun thing, and I've got the Chicago typewriter, which is like a machine gun, but it gets more accurate. It's like the, the Hyperion weapons in Borderlands. Yeah, those. It gets more accurate as you go along, and I'm upgrading my gear, and I'm doing all of these things. And I started to realize, actually, this is kind of good, surprisingly. This is kind of good, and it gives you enough options with being able to, like, re-roll the adventure mode as many times as you want and try the like, 3 different lands that comes out of, or, you know, going in different directions with the campaign, or, you know, trying different models, that if you didn't like it the first time, it would actually lend itself to being able to try some other things and do some other things. It was like they almost knew that if you had a problem at any point, that they will give you almost an alternative that might be better suited for you. And then also, I had forgotten that they actually did use all those crystals that you encounter, essentially your bonfires, as fast travel points too. So you can warp back and forth. It's something I liked in Code Vein, and I liked it here. So I guess what I'm saying is I actually recommend Remnant from the Ashes, which is a thing I didn't think I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah, but here we are. I'm in
I feel like we need to add a clip somewhere of what you said about it before.
Yeah, I think I have that. I'm sure I do.
Okay, some people are really going to hate that I put it this far down the list. But Remnant from the Ashes is on here right near the bottom. Not the very bottom, we're getting there. But Remnant from the Ashes for me was everything I didn't like about Dark Souls with nothing of the redeeming qualities. Oh, but it's Dark Souls with guns, Nathan. Yeah, guns that suck. Guns that take forever to reload that have like 3 shots. What? And considering the focus on melee combat for most of the enemies you come across, I'd rather have had my sword and shield at this point. You know how in Dark Souls people really like the idea that there were multiple paths you could take to different objectives, you didn't have to go in one linear line? Well, Remnant fixed that by having basically one tunnel system that you can access in 2 different places, and they lead to the same damn boss battle. And I gotta tell you, if you can get through that very first boss battle and not hate yourself or this game, more power to you. I just lost it. It feels cheap and tedious and pointless and completely unrefined. You should have just played Dark Souls, folks. Remnant it adds nothing to the conversation, it adds nothing to the dialogue, and is one of the worst versions of a Souls-like game I have ever played. And it's ironic because I played Darksiders 3, which is also from Gunfire Games, and they took similar elements from Dark Souls, and I like that, maybe because it had some DMC added in there with all of like the kicks and the whips and everything, I don't know. But the point is that Remnant just feels clunky, and I did not like it, and it's the worst version of a Souls game I could imagine. I hope.
I think it was,
Insert short clip here of Nathan saying how bad this game is.
yeah, insert a short clip here so that you can hear me indeed say that I was not a fan. But yes, I have changed my opinion on that, and it's one of the reasons why I decided this year I want to go back and play some other games that I tried before, and I might want to just give it a second go to see if maybe I dismissed it too quickly or judged it too harshly. I don't know if you've ever had a case like that where you played a game and then just went back to it later to see if it was okay or not. Or if you just did
I definitely have games in my library that I've played for a bit of time. I was like, all right, well, I played too long to refund it, so I can't refund it and return it. So I'm gonna keep it, and maybe it'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll get better.
Yeah.
So I've definitely got some of those.
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Yeah. And sometimes you figure maybe it will just get better because they'll actually patch it or update it or put more content in. But sometimes, and Remnant is as far as I'm familiar, it hasn't really changed that much from its original concept when I played it. It's just that looking at it again and taking it in looking at it with a different set of eyes and a new perspective, the way I was playing it, I could appreciate it more. And now, actually, the ironic thing is, when you get to later stages, if you can get past those first things with the sewer systems and the giant mauler dude, you don't actually... It becomes more feasible to have a mid-range or a long-range character, because things start to open up a little bit. So you may find that some of these games actually are pretty good, but they might not give you the best first impression. And so I'll probably play more of them over the course of time. I might end up talking about them on the show, I'm not sure, or do something with them, maybe on Titanium Mine. And discuss them in more detail. But this was just one of those where I was like, yeah, okay, I guess sometimes our first impression is wrong. And being able to go back and see is useful. It kind of gives you a better perspective on games that you might not get if you just kind of like play them for 5 minutes and then just dismiss them out of hand and never talk about them ever again. And previously I had done that with things like Fallout 76 and those, and I had gone back and played it again. It doesn't always work out. It's not always an improvement. But it's interesting to see if it actually did improve, or it did do anything more than what it had done originally. Chances are, if I remember correctly though, you have a tendency to play games once they've been out for a little bit.
Yeah, I more or less like it when a game's been out. I don't generally pick them up when they first come out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's something I've been looking forward to, because I prefer to buy games when they're on sale.
Yeah.
But I also know, especially newer games or newer studios, that, launches typically come with a bunch of bugs.
Yeah. And they need more polish. They need more polish. And so, since they need more polish, I kind of figure that they're not going to do that initially anyway, and we talked about this on the show, but just the general idea that, yeah, I don't jump right on them. But then there are these cases where they'll be on Game Pass, or they'll be like a free deal or something on one of my subscriptions, and I'll be like, well, I might as well pick it up now and see if it's any good. Remnant was one of those cases. I pretty much played it the second it had come out because it was on my Game Pass, and so I played it, and I was not happy with it. And looking back on it now, realized that maybe because it was fresh and new and I didn't necessarily understand what it was doing, and I've changed some of my tastes in games over the course of time, it's actually good.
Yeah.
It's actually good. So, first impressions can be deceiving, folks. That's basically what this soapbox is saying. So there's that.